Elvis Aaron Presley was born on January 8, 1935 in Tupelo, Mississippi, to Gladys and Vernon Presley. He was a twin, but his brother, Jesse Garin, was stillborn, a loss that would impact Elvis throughout his life. Raised in poverty, the Presleys moved to Memphis, Tennessee, when Elvis was 13. It was here that his love for music blossomed, and he began to develop his unique style that would later define him as the king of rock and roll. Elvis's early influences were gospel music from church, country music, and blues, which were prevalent in the southern United States. He was deeply influenced by African-American artists, particularly those who performed in the church, and he often drew from this rich musical heritage in his work. At the age of 18, Elvis, encouraged by his mother, recorded a demo at Sun Studio in Memphis, leading to his first professional recording session. This recording caught the attention of Sam Phillips, the owner of Sun Records, who recognized Elvis's potential and signed him. In 1954, Elvis's breakthrough came with the release of That's All Right, a song that blended country and blues, showcasing his raw talent and distinct sound. This single propelled him into the spotlight, and within a few years, Elvis was becoming a household name. His music was revolutionary, combining elements of gospel, blues, and country, creating a sound that had never been heard before. Elvis's performances were electrifying, and his raw energy, good looks, and natural charisma made him a star. His debut on The Ed Sullivan Show in 1956 was a game-changer, as 82% of American households tuned in to watch him perform. His hips swaying provocatively on stage caused a stir and led to accusations of moral decay from critics, but they only solidified his status as a cultural icon. Elvis's popularity continued to skyrocket with hits like Heartbreak Hotel, Hound Dog, Love Me Tender, and Jailhouse Rock. His ability to cross racial boundaries with his music made him a central figure in the integration of popular music during a time when segregation was still prominent in the United States. In the 1960s, Elvis transitioned into a successful film career. While many of his movies were criticized for being formulaic, they were commercial hits. His first film, Love Me Tender, 1956, was a success, and he went on to star in a total of 31 films, including Blue Hawaii, 1961, and Viva Las Vegas, 1964. However, Elvis's film career, though lucrative, did little to foster his artistic development. By the mid-1960s, his musical output had begun to decline, as his films focused more on light entertainment and less on his musical innovation. Elvis, who had once been a leader in music, was now primarily known for his Hollywood persona. Despite this, his popularity remained intact, and he continued to tour and perform, though by the late 1960s he was increasingly facing personal and professional struggles. Elvis's dissatisfaction with his film career, combined with the pressure of maintaining his public image, began to take a toll on his mental and emotional health. He struggles with drugs in personal life. Behind the scenes, Elvis was grappling with personal demons that would eventually lead to his downfall. His marriage to Priscilla Presley in 1967 was troubled, and their divorce in 1973 was devastating for him. His relationship with Priscilla deteriorated due to his increasing reliance on prescription drugs and his demanding career. In the 1970s, Elvis's use of drugs became more pronounced. His physical and emotional health began to deteriorate, and the drugs he was prescribed for his anxiety, pain, and insomnia only compounded the problem. Elvis's once youthful energy began to wane, and his performances became inconsistent. He was often seen bloated and fatigued, and his once legendary voice showed signs of strain. Elvis's dependence on prescription drugs was well known in the industry. His physician, Dr. George Nicopolis, was accused of overprescribing medications to the singer. At the time, there were no laws regulating the distribution of prescription drugs, and Nicopolis allegedly prescribed Elvis hundreds of pills, including barbiturates, amphetamines, and tranquilizers. Elvis's weight fluctuated dramatically, and he was often seen in public looking disheveled. His once glamorous image was tarnished by his drug use, and his health continued to decline. At the time, the media portrayed Elvis as a troubled star, and though his fans still adored him, they were also worried about his well-being. Despite his personal struggles, Elvis made a comeback in 1968 with the '68 Comeback Special, a television performance that showcased his raw talent and energy. This special marked a return to his roots, with Elvis performing rock and roll songs in front of a live audience. It was a critical success and reminded the world of the powerhouse performer Elvis had once been. However, Elvis's health continued to deteriorate, and he was unable to maintain his success. He began performing live shows again, but his concerts were marked by erratic behavior and increasing reliance on medication. Fans still flocked to see him, but it was clear that the magic of his earlier years had faded. His performances were often lackluster, and his weight issues and drug use were becoming more noticeable. In 1973, Elvis performed in a series of concerts known as the Aloha from Hawaii Special, which was broadcast globally. While the show was a success, Elvis's personal issues overshadowed his professional achievements. He was often seen in public looking disoriented and unwell. By the mid-1970s, Elvis's health had worsened dramatically. He suffered from hypertension, glaucoma, and liver damage, all likely linked to his drug use. His performances were inconsistent, and he began missing scheduled concerts. Elvis's appearance, once a symbol of youthful exuberance, had been replaced by a bloated, exhausted figure. On the morning of August 16, 1977, Elvis Presley was found unresponsive in his bathroom at Graceland, his mansion in Memphis, Tennessee. He was rushed to the hospital, but by the time he arrived, it was clear that he had passed away. The official cause of death was listed as a heart attack, though many believe his death was related to his long-term drug use. Elvis's death was met with shock and grief from his fans who had adored him for decades. He was just 42 years old. His death marked the end of an era in American music, and his passing became one of the most significant moments in pop culture history. The medical examiner's report suggested that Elvis had a number of health problems, many of which were related to his drug use. It was later revealed that he had been taking a variety of prescription drugs, including barbiturates, painkillers, and stimulants, which had likely contributed to his heart failure. Elvis Presley's death was a turning point in the history of popular music. He had been a trailblazer in the 1950s and 1960s, helping to shape the sound of modern rock and roll. His influence continues to be felt to this day, and he remains one of the most iconic figures in the history of music. Despite his struggles with drugs and personal issues, Elvis's music and legacy live on. His contributions to rock and roll, pop music, and American culture are immeasurable. He is remembered not only for his groundbreaking music, but also for his charismatic stage presence, his cultural impact, and his ability to break down racial barriers in the music industry. Elvis's story is one of immense talent, tragic decline, and cultural significance. While his struggles with drugs and his untimely death left a dark mark on his career, his legacy as the king of rock and roll remains intact, and his influence continues.